June 4th, 1942. Dawn breaks over the Central Pacific as 4 Japanese aircraft carriers release 108 aircraft to finish what Pearl Harbor started. It's the largest carrier battle the world has ever seen, and the fate of the Pacific War hangs on what happens in the next 12 hours. But let's change one thing. Steaming alongside Enterprise, Hornet, and Yorktown is something that shouldn't exist for another 75 years. A 100,000-ton nuclear-powered supercarrier from 2017, the USS Gerald R. Ford, dropped into a battle it was never meant to fight. So what happens when the most advanced aircraft carrier on Earth is unleashed during one of the most pivotal naval battles in history? Can it turn the tide of the entire Pacific War, or is it just one carrier against 4? Before we drop a nuclear supercarrier into 1942, quick thanks to today's sponsor, Private Internet Access. I started using PIA for a pretty simple reason. I travel a lot and I'm constantly on sketchy Wi-Fi. Airports, hotels, cafes, places where your data is basically fair game. Browsing unprotected is like sending a private message to a group chat. Everyone can see it. PIA encrypts your connection and hides your IP address, so your data stays yours. It's also the VPN I stuck with because it actually works without being annoying. One subscription protects unlimited devices, so my laptop, phone, and everything else are covered at the same time. PIA also comes in clutch for streaming. Netflix has completely different libraries depending on where you're located, so I wanted to watch Saving Private Ryan recently, and even though I'm in the US and it's unavailable here, I could switch to another country and watch it without a problem. PIA gives you servers in 91 countries, including all 50 US states, and backs it up with a proven no-logs policy, over 30 million downloads, and independent audits. If you want to browse more safely and unlock more content, go to piavpn.com/2braincells to get 83% off private internet access. Just $2.03 a month, plus 4 extra free months. There's also a 30-day money-back guarantee, so there's no risk. All right, back to Midway. First, let's understand what exactly we just dropped haphazardly into 1942. The Gerald R. Ford stretches 1,106 feet long, or 3.5 football fields of American firepower. It displaces 100,000 tons, roughly the weight of all 3 American carriers at Midway combined. 2 nuclear reactors pump out enough power to run a small city, and they won't need refueling for 25 years. In 1942, American radar on Midway Island could barely see 93 miles on a good day, while the Ford's dual-band radar system can track hundreds of targets simultaneously from over 250 miles away, and its onboard E-2D Hawkeye early warning aircraft extends that bubble to 350 miles of coverage, as it circles high above the fleet like an all-seeing eye. 75 aircraft are on its flight deck. FA-18 Super Hornets that scream through the sky at Mach 1.8, over 1,200 miles per hour. F-35C Lightning II stealth fighters invisible to any radar that exists in 1942. EA-18G Growlers that can fry enemy electronics and turn radios into static. A single Super Hornet can haul 17,000 pounds of ordnance. For comparison, a World War II SBD Dauntless dive bomber, the plane that historically won Midway, carried about 1,200 pounds. One modern jet equals roughly 14 of those. The ship itself bristles with defensive weapons, evolved Sea Sparrow missiles for medium range, rolling airframe missiles for close encounters, and 3 Phalanx close-in weapon systems that spit 4,500 rounds per minute, creating a wall of tungsten that can shred anything. But Admiral Nagumo's strike force is no joke either. He's brought 4 fleet carriers, Akagi, Kaga, Soryu, and Hiryu, the same ships that devastated Pearl Harbor. The air wings pack 248 aircraft flown by the most experienced naval aviators on the planet, pilots who've been perfecting their craft since the 1930s. The Mitsubishi A6M0 is fast and agile, while Aichi D3A Val dive bombers and Nakajima B5N Kate torpedo bombers carry the real payloads. Supporting the carriers are battleships, cruisers, and destroyers, a fleet of over 100 warships stretching across the Pacific. The battleship Yamato lurks in reserve, armed with 18-inch guns that can lob shells the size of Volkswagens. But these ships fight using visual spotting, primitive radar, and manual fire control. They have to see their targets to shoot them, and their longest range weapons max out around 25 miles. 5:30 a.m. Japanese pilots receive their final briefings 230 miles northwest of Midway Atoll. They don't know it yet, but they're already being watched. The Ford's Combat Information Center lights up as blips appear on screens, moving south at 180 knots. Within seconds, the ship's computers identify all 108 aircraft in the first wave. Altitude, speed, heading, fuel state. It keeps better track than the actual pilots. By 6 a.m., A squadron of Super Hornets is airborne, climbing rapidly to 40,000 feet, an altitude where Japanese pilots would black out from oxygen deprivation. Below them, 150 miles away, Japanese aviators in open cockpits cruise toward Midway, completely unaware they're being stalked. The first AMRAAM missile launches at 6:45 a.m. There's no warning. No enemy in sight, just a flash of fire and a cloud of debris where a plane used to be. Panic ripples through the formation. Pilots helplessly search for their attackers. Some dive for the deck, others climb desperately. The tight formation that took months to perfect collapses. The Super Hornets engage from 30 miles away with radar-guided missiles that don't care about evasive maneuvers. They adjust, track, and kill. Commander Mutsuo Fuchida, leading the strike, tries to restore order over the radio, but something's wrong. His transmissions go nowhere. The Zeros, still in the air, aren't responding. EA-18G Growlers have arrived, their electronic warfare suites rendering every Japanese radio useless. The coordinated Japanese strike force is now deaf, blind, and alone, hunted by predators they can't see, can't hear, and can't fight. As they approach Midway, they meet the Ford's second line of defense, F-35C Lightning IIs circling at 15,000 feet. For the first time, Japanese pilots actually see what's killing them. Sleek, angular shapes unlike anything in their recognition manuals. The F-35s engage with infrared missiles that lock onto engine heat, and the Zeros never get close enough to use their guns. Torpedo bombers drop to wave height in desperate attack runs. The Ford's phalanx system activates, spewing thousands of tungsten rounds that shred the aircraft like tissue paper. Dive bombers roll in from altitude and meet the same fate as Sea Sparrow missiles intercept them miles from their release points. By 8 a.m., when the attack should be reaching its crescendo, Midway Island sits virtually untouched. A handful of Japanese planes make it through and release their bombs haphazardly, but most hit water. Admiral Nagumo aboard Akagi receives fragmentary reports from terrified survivors. Planes vanishing, radios dead, enemies that fly faster than anything they know. It sounds like mass hallucination. He orders the second wave to launch. 175 more aircraft heading directly into a nest of Super Hornets waiting at 35,000 feet with missiles ready. With Japanese air power bleeding out across the Pacific, the Ford goes on offense. 30 Super Hornets launch, armed with AGM-84 Harpoon anti-ship missiles and 2,000-pound laser-guided bombs. The Hawkeye has already pinpointed the Japanese carriers, 4 fat targets in a box formation 200 miles northwest. The Japanese fleet has no air cover left. Every Zero is either in the water, running on fumes, or desperately trying to land on a carrier deck. Lookouts spot the incoming jets, but their anti-aircraft guns were designed for planes flying 300 miles per hour, not 1,200. The first Harpoon missile skims across the waves at 500 miles per hour, 50 feet above the water. Akagi's gunners don't even see it coming before the 500-pound warhead punches through the carrier's side and detonates in the hangar deck, where aircraft are being refueled and rearmed. The ship that helped bomb Pearl Harbor becomes a floating inferno. Kaga takes 3 hits. Soryu, 2, Hiryu, tries to flee at flank speed, but you can't outrun a jet. A pair of laser-guided bombs find her flight deck and turn it into a furnace. Within 20 minutes, all 4 Japanese fleet carriers are burning, sinking, or dead in the water. When the smoke clears, the Battle of Midway isn't a turning point anymore. It's an extinction event. 4 Japanese carriers sunk, same as history, but this time, American losses are nearly 0. Yorktown survives. Enterprise and Hornet never even launch a strike. Their pilots watch from the ready rooms as jets from the future do the killing for them. Japan loses not just its carriers, but most of its veteran pilots. Hundreds of irreplaceable aviators gone in a single morning. The Ford would be remembered as the Phantom of Midway. 75 years of military advancement turning what should have been a hard-fought victory into the most one-sided naval battle in history. Or what do you think would happen? And if you're curious whether the US military could deliver every Christmas present in one night, check out the video on screen now. Thanks for watching.